Hey guys, it's Matt. So we're going to go ahead and go over tuning the M2. It's no different from any other dye marker that has an LPR and HPR. The M2 is a little bit more consistent due to the new bolt system that's inside. So, what I do to tune an M2 is I don't look at your pressure gauges. I don't do it. The pressure gauge to me, and I'm sure any other tech out there, is only to see what is happening with the marker. We only use it as a reference. We don't there is a default settings. I don't know them off the top of my head. I should, but I don't. I was taught old school by Rocky Cagnoni how to tune a gun. Sat down and I listened to everything he said. I absorbed it, and he taught me how to do the old school finger in the barrel breech here and pull the trigger. And what that actually does, that's a good question. What it's doing is telling how fast the bolt is moving, which is controlled by your LPR. The LPR pressure tells how much pressure is in the front of the bolt here. That sends it forward and backwards. So, the harder it's hitting my finger, the higher the LPR. So that can be tuned to the DM. Any DM that has an LPR. That's what controls how fast that bolt is moving. So, with your HPR, what that is actually doing is how much pressure is built up back here in the back part of the chamber, in the back part of the bolt. So your LPR fills up the front here, your solenoid changes the directions, and is now sending it in the back. So when you first air it up, it sends air up in the front here, which fills the front half of the bolt with air. And when that's built up, the solenoid changes that direction, so all the air in the front here gets sent to the back, which pushes the bolt forward. So the more air pressure here, the more pressure it's going to send it forward faster and send it backwards, because when the shot is done, your dwell, when that stops, it closes the solenoid, which then releases all the air back here, engaging the LPR to recharge the front chamber to send the bolt back. So, again, higher LPR, the faster that this bolt is going to move forward and backwards. Now, once the breech here is open, it gets to a point, it's going to shut off the air, so no more air is going to come out, and it's going to release all the air in the back chamber. That is controlled by your HPR. The more pressure your HPR is, the more pressure it is here. So when it's open, more air is going to get released. Now, a lot of factors come into play when tuning a gun. The worst thing I've seen on the internet that I hate, and it's one of the I can't stand it when people say this, is what is your pressures at? I'm going to take my gun and put them at your pressures. The reason why I don't like that. Factor 1, your gun is different. The paint you're shooting is different. The bore size of the paint that you're shooting is different. The humidity is different. So, all that comes into play. Yes, humidity comes into play with paintball. It swells the paint, which is going to cause it to fit either tighter in the bore size. Also, the length of your bore. That's a huge factor as well. So that's the reason why I don't like people saying, oh, these are my pressures. Because if I set my pressures to Billy Wink's pressures on his gun, my gun will not shoot the same as his. He has a different barrel back than I do. This gun here, he has the boomstick. I do not. I have the UL back. So my gun will shoot different no matter what. The other thing, when tuning a gun, you're gonna have to touch both the LPR and HPR. That's a given fact. You can't tune a gun properly without touching both. You can get the speed to shoot a little bit. If you just need if I'm on the chrono and I just tune my HPR, and next thing you know, I'm shooting and it's dropped it's going 295, 290, 292, 295. If it stays within a 5 feet per second range, I don't want to touch the LPR. That is a perfect setting. It's a good consistent setting. It's just 5. That's a beautiful setting. But say I'm tuning my HPR, and next thing you know, it's shooting 295, and the next shot is 275. Your best bet is to go ahead and turn the LPR down and see what that does. If it gives you a more consistent shot, but it's lower now, but the shot stays very consistent, so say 280, 278, 280, 279. If it gives you those types of reading, go ahead and turn your HPR up just to give it some more air, and you're going to have to keep playing with both, just get the feel of it and how the gun is actually reacting. Now again, how I just said, I don't even know what my guns are shooting at pressure. Both of these guns, my M2s, my Storm here, and my Deep Waters. My Deep Waters at World Cup 2015 was getting 13.5 pods before I had to fill up air. My DM15 was getting 12.5 pods. This gun, I'm going to say, is probably shooting the same because I like mine punching hard and giving a nice lob shot, so it's going to be very air consistent. So when you're tuning the gun, and if you have it air efficient, it's going to have a lob, and that is because you're sending the bolt faster, which is getting the ball to move faster at start, so you don't need as much air pressure to push the ball out the barrel. If you have it as a straight shot or a front player, less air consistent, is you have more pressure in your HPR and your lower LPR, so the bolt isn't moving as fast, so it's not giving that ball that initial speed at first, so it needs more air to be sent to send it faster, which is going to cause the ball to spin more via the holes. There's more air to cause the ball to spin. That's exactly what's happening with these guns, and that's why it's designed this way for any barrel. Now, the best way to tune a gun is I don't like tuning a gun during tournaments because it's just going to throw everything off. I try to get a good tournament grade paint on a good weekend, get the barrel size matching to the paint, get your everything set up to the proper how you're going to use it in a tournament, and then start tuning it. That way, when you get to the tournament, your gun is already set up and properly shooting. The one thing I don't like is it's like someone just goes ahead and tunes their gun. Chrono is a different story. Chrono, you're just messing with the pressure, which is needed. Tuning, you're going to be messing with the LPR. That's going to give you that fine consistency shot. So your HPR is obviously going to give you your chrono speed up and down significant, while your LPR is going to give that fine tune. You're going to have to turn it up, see what it does. Turn it down, see what it does. I don't mean like a 16th of an inch. The best way to find out what's actually happening, give it a good 1/4 inch. See what happens. You're not going to hurt the gun. You're just going to learn more information on what's actually happening. If turning it up gives you a more consistent shot, then go ahead and start fiddling with your LPR. Or HPR, I'm sorry. If turning it down gives you a more consistent shot, you're going to have to fiddle with your HPR. It's just a learning curve of what does what and how do I want my gun to be set up. Do I want it to have a straight shot or do I want it to be a lob shot? Are you a front player? I say get the straight shot. You don't carry as much paint, but you have a laser shot. If you're a back player, air consistency. So LPR high, HPR lower. Now, what I mean by lower and higher, I don't mean your LPR needs to be higher than your HPR. That's not the case. Your HPR is always going to be a higher pressure than your LPR. What I mean is turning it up higher and turning it lower and lower and higher. That's what I mean by turning it higher and lower. Hopefully that this was very informational. This is a 10-minute video. I don't think I'm going to do any editing with it because I explain a lot of information on what I do to tune a gun, what the gun actually does. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoy.